Did you hear that Australia is putting a minimum age limit on social media use? That's what we'll discuss in today's Learn English with the News. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started.
Let's review the headline. Australia intends to set a minimum age limit for children to use social media. Let's review this word intends. At this point in time, has Australia set a minimum age limit? Said another way, does the minimum age limit exist right now in Australia? What do you think? Yes or no? If you said no, you're correct, because the word intends means it's their plan, but it hasn't happened yet. You could also say Australia plans to set a minimum age. You could write it slightly differently and say Australia's goal. Notice here there's a possessive because the goal belongs to Australia. Australia's goal is, and then the infinitive, to set. So the main verb is to intend. You could say, I intend to take my IELTS this year. That's your goal. That's your plan. But remember, it hasn't happened yet. Now, S is on intend here because it's in the present simple and Australia is the subject it. It intends. The country intends. I intend. She intends. You could write this another way and use the word intention. What do you notice as the difference between intend and intention? If you're thinking, well, I think intend is a verb, but intention is a noun, you're correct. Or if you're thinking something about the sentence structure difference, you're correct. So intend is your verb, subject, verb, and then you use the infinitive. Here, intention is a noun, and it's one's intention, which is why there is my. If it was she, you could say it is her intention, or it is Sally's intention if you wanted to specify a person. Now notice if it's Sally, you add this apostrophe S. So I'll use this example here. It is her intention, it is Sally's intention to take, we'll change this to her IELTS or simply the IELTS this year. So different ways to communicate the same thing. You can start with learning one and then you can add on others as you practice and get more comfortable. Don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Before we move on, let me ask you, do you agree with this sentence? It's my intention to become fluent this year. It's my intention. Do you agree with that? It's your intention. You intend to become fluent this year. If you do, put let's go. And this exercise is a great way to help you reach your goal. So put let's go in the comments and let's continue on. Australia's plan. Oh, notice we talked about Australia's goal is. So what do you notice? I said Australia plans to set. What do you notice about the sentence structure here? This should be easy for you because we talked about a similar difference with these examples. Here, Australia's plan, this is a noun. It belongs to Australia. You could replace this with a verb and say Australia plans. And again, this is in the present simple, so you have to conjugate your verb with the subject, it. It plans. Australia plans. Sometimes when you make one change, a noun to a verb, you have to make other changes to the sentence to make it flow. Australia plans to introduce a minimum age limit. Australia's plan for a minimum age limit for social media use comes from concerns over children's mental and physical health. So notice this comes from. The concerns or the plan, the plan comes from concerns. So the plan exists because of the concerns. You can think of this as originates from, just like a person Where do you come from? Where do you originate from? You could also use is based on, so to be, and then based is always in the ed form as an adjective. You conjugate your verb to be, is based on, concerns over. And it's always important to notice what prepositions are used with specific verbs. So concerns, which is actually a noun here, from concerns over, concerns over. So that would be your preposition choice. Sometimes multiple prepositions are correct. And in this case, you could say we have some concerns. Again, concerns is a noun. Concerns over her behavior. Concerns about. You may be more familiar with the preposition about. Concerns about her behavior. Or concerns regarding her behavior. All three are correct. Personally, I would say that about is the most common choice. So it looks like I can't just underline that one word. I found another way to do it. Let's continue. The plan has sparked backlash from digital rights advocates who warn the measure could drive dangerous online activity underground. Are you wondering about the word sparked or maybe backlash? Let's review both of these. So here, the plan has sparked backlash. Backlash is a strong negative reaction. So it sounds like people are saying, no, let's not do that. That's a dumb idea. That's not a good idea. This is a terrible idea because it's a strong negative reaction. So they're going to use strong language as well when they say no. So basically it's opposition. Now, if the plan has sparked backlash, it means the spark has caused backlash. The opposition, the strong negative reaction, only exists because the plan exists. So if the plan doesn't exist, well, then the backlash doesn't exist. So that's how you can think of the verb to spark. Something, the plan, sparks something. Now, spark is a verb. So here it's in the past simple, and backlash is a noun. So the plan has sparked backlash from digital rights advocates. An advocate, this is a noun. It's someone, in this case people, because it's plural, so more than one person. So advocates are people who support a specific cause. And in this case, the cause is not having a minimum age limit, or you can think of it in the positive. The cause is allowing children of all ages to use social media. And these advocates, so these digital rights advocates who warn the measure, so the measure is the plan. The measure could drive dangerous online activity underground. So if the measure, which remember is another way of simply saying the plan to limit social media use in children or have an age restriction for it, the measure, the plan could drive. So if the plan drives dangerous online activity underground, it also causes it causes the activity to go underground, which then could be dangerous. If you're wondering, well, what does it mean to go underground? If you hear about an activity being underground, this is an expression. They're not referring to that activity being below the surface. They're saying that it's secret or hidden activity. So if somebody does something underground, they do it to avoid detection. So you hear this a lot with criminal activity, smuggling, or selling of activity that is illegal, that is done underground, secret, hidden, to avoid detection. It's not commonly used with children's activities, that's for sure.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily.
Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said his center-left government would run an age verification trial before introducing age minimum laws for social media this year. Let's talk about what run an age verification trial means. So in this case, run a trial. Age verification tells you what type of trial. Trial can be considered a test, so an experiment to see how something works. And run a trial simply means to start a trial, to implement a trial, to conduct a trial or test. So you can run a test, you can start a test as well. Now, an age verification trial, well, age verification means to verify one's age. And to verify means to confirm the truth or accuracy. So they're running a trial, they're running a test, an experiment to see how accurately they can determine someone's age. Because if they can't determine the age, then they can't limit certain ages with their new plan. So they're doing this before introducing. Now notice, before is a preposition, which is why you have your verb in ing, your gerund verb following prepositions, before introducing age minimum laws for social media this year. Albanese didn't specify an age, so an age for the minimum age. He didn't specify an age, but said it would likely be between 14 and 16. For age, you can simply have the number. So you can say I'm, and then your age. Let's say my son is 14, my daughter is 16. Or you can add the two words years. Of course, it's plural for every age except one. Other than one, it's plural, years. 14 years old. So you can say my daughter is 16 years old or my daughter is 16. But you cannot say my daughter is 16 years. If you want to use years, you must also use the word old. The law would put Australia among the first countries in the world to impose an age restriction on social media. Let's review this sentence structure, among the first, but then we have a plural noun, countries. The law would put Australia among the first countries. So countries is plural because there can be more than one country that imposes age restrictions. So let's say there's 5, since I have 5 fingers. So all of these are different countries that are either considering or have already implemented age restrictions. And one of these 5 is Australia. So that would make Australia among the first countries in the world. So another example, the university aims. Now, aims is another verb that could replace intend. And we have this S on aim and intend because the university is third person singular. It aims, it intends to be among the first. So in this case, we wouldn't use country because, of course, the university isn't a country. So you have to think about what the noun category is, and then you make the category plural. So institution could be the category. Among the first institutions in the country, we could also say in the world, but in the country, to offer a degree in artificial intelligence. So again, maybe there are 5 universities in the country, and this specific one is one of those 5. So among the first, and then plural noun, whatever the group is, in the country, in the world, in my local area, whatever place as well. So that's a nice advanced sentence you can practice using. The law would put Australia among the first countries in the world to impose an age restriction on social media. Previous attempts, including by the European Union, so the European Union was one of those first countries, but it was an attempt. So, did the European Union impose a minimum age? Well, previous attempt. An attempt means that it wasn't successful. So if you say, I attempted to pass my IELTS, I know you didn't pass your IELTS, but that's okay because we learn from all of our previous attempts as well. Previous attempts, including by the European Union. So by using the language including by, it means that there have been other previous attempts other than the European Union. This is just one example, but there have been other, but they have failed. Now, attempts is plural. So as the noun, it would be they. They have failed. This is the present perfect because it's an action in the past, a completed past action, but the result is in the present. What's the result? Well, there are no minimum age limits in the European Union among other countries. That's the result in the present because previous attempts have failed. Following complaints about reducing the online rights of minors. What could we replace this word with? We learned it. Previously, we learned there was one word that you can use for a strong negative reaction, opposition, complaints. Complaints are a strong negative reaction. The word is backlash. Don't worry if you didn't remember that because your brain has already learned a lot of information. Your brain needs repetition to permanently remember this information. So that's okay if you didn't remember it. Just know you have to practice, and then you will remember these concepts. Now, remember previously we talked about understanding what preposition choice is used and understanding you may need to make other changes. So if you use the word backlash, I wouldn't say backlash about reducing. I would use the preposition over. Backlash over reducing the online rights of minors. In both cases, you would use the verb in ing, the gerund verb, because about and over are prepositions, so you need the gerund following the preposition. Meta, owner of Facebook and Instagram, which has a self-imposed minimum age of 13. Remember, you could say 13 years old. So if the minimum age is self-imposed, who imposed this age on Meta? Meta did. Because if it's self-imposed, it means it's imposed by self. And in this case, the self is Meta, the company Meta. Meta imposed the minimum age. So using self-imposed just lets you know that the government didn't force Meta to do this. It was self-imposed. So Meta said it wanted to empower young people to benefit from its platforms, the platforms being Facebook and Instagram, and equip parents with the tools to support them instead of just cutting off access. So to empower young people, it means to give power to young people. The verb equip means to provide the necessary tools or resources. So I could say this channel equips with that S because this channel is third person singular. It equips students to become fluent. So in this case, and equip parents with the tools to support them instead of just cutting off access. So if you cut off access, it means that you remove the access from the students. Let's continue. Albanese announced the age restriction plan against the backdrop of a parliamentary inquiry into social media's effects on society. A parliamentary inquiry is, you can think of it as an investigation or a study, but it's done by lawmakers, people who belong to parliament. And the investigation is into social media's effects on society. So they're studying how social media affects society. And here, against the backdrop of, this is just a poetic way, a literary way of saying that these two things are taking place at the same time. So the inquiry is taking place at the same time as the announcement. So they're taking place at the same time. So the inquiry has heard sometimes emotional testimony of mental health impacts on teenagers. But the inquiry has also heard concerns about whether an age limit would inadvertently harm younger people by encouraging them to hide their online activity. So here, this hide their online activity, you could replace that with to take their activity. Where would they take it? Hint, hint, hint. Underground. Remember, if they hide their online activity, it means they're doing it secretly. They don't want to be caught. So that describes underground activity. But you need a connecting verb because underground activity, that is a noun, it's a something. So in this case, they would take their activity underground, which right now their activity is not underground. They're doing it in the open. So they're going to take it underground. They're going to start doing it secretly. I wrote that explanation for you. Now let's talk about this adverb inadvertently. Inadvertently, again, as an adverb, is important here because it gives you information about the rest of the sentence. It means without meaning to, because of course, nobody wants to harm younger people. So it's important that they added the word inadvertently. You could also use the adverb unintentionally, inadvertently. So notice that different prefix here, in. Both of them adverbs and they have the same meaning. This knee-jerk move. Oh, so in here, the move is introducing the minimum age limit. That's the move. It's the action that the government has taken or intends to take because it isn't a complete action as of now. It's a plan. So that's the move, the action the government intends to take, but it's knee-jerk. Do you know what this means? As an adjective, knee-jerk. Do you remember going to the doctor's office maybe when you were a little kid and you had your legs crossed, and let's say this is your leg and this is your knee, and the doctor hit your knee with, I don't know what it was, a little hammer, but obviously not something that hurts, just hit it, and then your leg would go like this, but it was not intentional. It happened automatically or naturally. So that is a knee-jerk move. It is a move. Remember, a move is action that is done without thinking. You can also think of it as impulsive. When you do something impulsively, you do it without thinking. We use knee-jerk a lot with our reactions. So if you get really upset over something very minor, later you might apologize and say, I'm sorry for my knee-jerk reaction. You're letting the person know that that anger was just automatic. You didn't take the time to think about it, because if you had, you probably wouldn't have gotten so angry. So we use this a lot to describe reactions. You might have a knee-jerk reaction when someone cuts you off in traffic and you get really angry, but if you think about it, you probably would not have reacted the same way. That's a knee-jerk reaction. This knee-jerk move, so they're saying that the government is implementing this policy, this plan, without thinking about it. This knee-jerk move threatens to create serious harm by excluding young people from meaningful, healthy participation in the digital world, potentially driving them to lower quality online spaces. Again, this could be to drive them. Remember, when something drives something, it causes it to happen. So drive their activity underground. So again, this lower quality online spaces, this implies that hidden secret activity underground, said Daniel Agnes, director of the Queensland University of Technology Digital Media Research Center. So again, it's important to see when something is in quotes, because you know this is just someone's opinion. It's not being presented as fact. It is someone sharing their specific opinion. And clearly this person is an advocate for children of all ages using online resources. Remember that advocate is someone who supports. So I wrote here, instead of saying potentially driving them to lower quality online spaces, you could say potentially driving, remember causing to happen, potentially driving their online activity underground. The online activity belongs to the children. So that's possessive, their online activity. And where is that activity going? Underground, where it is hidden or secretive. And that is the end of the article. So now I'll read the article from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. Australia intends to set a minimum age limit for children to use social media. Australia's plan for a minimum age limit for social media use comes from concerns over children's mental and physical health. The plan has sparked backlash from digital rights advocates who warn the measure could drive dangerous online activity underground. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said his center-left government would run an age verification trial before introducing age minimum laws for social media this year. Albanese didn't specify an age, but said it would likely be between 14 and 16. The law would put Australia among the first countries in the world to impose an age restriction on social media. Previous attempts, including by the European Union, have failed following complaints about reducing the online rights of minors. Meta, owner of Facebook and Instagram, which has a self-imposed minimum age of 13, said it wanted to empower young people to benefit from its platforms and equip parents with the tools to support them instead of just cutting off access. Albanese announced the age restriction plan against the backdrop of a parliamentary inquiry into social media's effects on society, which has heard sometimes emotional testimony of mental health impacts on teenagers. But the inquiry has also heard concerns about whether an age limit would inadvertently harm younger people by encouraging them to hide their online activity. This knee-jerk move threatens to create serious harm by excluding young people from meaningful, healthy participation in the digital world, potentially driving them to lower quality online spaces, said Daniel Agnes, director of the Queensland University of Technology Digital Media Research Center.
Do you want me to make another lesson where we read the news together? If you do, then put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And I have another lesson I know you'll love, so make sure you watch it right now.